Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a video geared mostly towards New York and New Jersey people with regards to getting carry permits. Um, this of course also applies to people in California, Hawaii, Chicago, Washington D.C. But I'm kind of signaling out like New York and New Jersey people because they're like 30 miles. I'm basically about 30 miles away from the New Jersey border, and then New York is just the north of me. I can get directly to that border like with an hour's drive. Um, so those are the people that I expect to come into contact with at different gun ranges that I typically visit to train people. Okay, there's something very significant about all these people in New York and New Jersey getting these carry permits is the fact that they're getting them all at once. Okay, so if you go to, let's say, to a gun range here in Pennsylvania, you might have one new person that just got the carry permit, and then let's say like whatever 20 or 30 other people on the range that have already had them for decades. Okay, so the difference now with New York and New Jersey is that everybody is pretty much getting the carry permit at once, and they're all new to this, and they cannot help each other out to to figure out some of the things that they need to know with regards to safely carrying a gun and not getting themselves in trouble. So that's kind of the purpose of this video. Obviously, I can't give them all that information at once in a short video, but I'm going to steer them in the right direction. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to say, all right, first of all, put in your application immediately, all right, because these states are going to try and roadblock it. Now, I understand it's going to probably be on a county by county basis. In some counties, it's going to go through a lot faster than in others. In other counties, they're going to try and roadblock it and delay it for as long as possible. You want to get that process started immediately. If you end up in one of these counties where you are roadblocked, and later on there's a like a class action suit, right? You might actually make some money on this, right? Because now you're being denied what clearly has been established by the Supreme Court as your right to do so. So get that application in there. So if they unfairly deny you, you can be part of that class action lawsuit. Okay. So yes, do get your application in as fast as possible. Start that process. That's not gonna you're not gonna lose anything in that. Okay. So that's the first thing. So next thing I'm gonna say is, even let's say you live in a county where they issue it to you immediately. Okay. Don't just start carrying the gun. Okay. First, all right, we're gonna go through a couple of things here. Right. First, learn how to shoot and handle guns in general. Okay. Before you even buy a gun, go to a place or go to somebody like me that has lots of guns that can let you try them out. Because what I find with new shooters is that they usually buy the wrong guns, right? Like very typical for women to either buy, let's say, a revolver that has a very hard trigger pull that they can't pull the trigger and keep the sights on target, okay? Or to buy, let's say, a gun that's too small, and even though it might fit well in their hands, because it's so light, they can't handle the recoil. So try lots of guns before you buy it. Don't go to the gun store and ask them to recommend a gun to you to buy, because that's kind of like everybody knows you don't go to a used car dealership and ask them what car you should buy, right? Because the car dealership's going to sell you whatever's in their best interest. So you go to a gun store the same way. When you go to a gun store, you go there to say, I'm here to buy this specific gun. Do you have it? And I would actually recommend you can call in advance before you even go to the gun store. Find out, what the price is, if they have it in stock, so that's the right way to shop for a gun. Figure out what gun you're going to have. Go someplace where you can borrow one and, or rent one and test it out. So don't go buying a gun. Do start the application, but don't go buy the gun immediately. Go through this stuff first and go to a place that can supply you with a variety of different guns that you can test out. and learn to handle the guns. Learn how to shoot the guns, load them, unload them, take them apart. Learn to be able to handle a couple of different guns, right? So first learn guns, and you're not going to do this in one day. That's probably going to involve a couple of training sessions, because you're only going to retain maybe about 20% of everything you learn in that day. Okay. Now, learning something, getting it in your head, and making it muscle memory are like two different things, because a lot of times I've seen plenty of students that are lectured on the gun safety rules: keep the gun in a safe direction, finger off trigger until your sights are on target, treat all guns like they're loaded. And then as soon as you put them on the firing line, they pick up the gun, they start pointing. They just heard the safety rules. We told it to them before they step up to the table, and immediately they'll point the gun off to the side over there. Okay. Or they'll immediately put the finger on the trigger. That is, like, I can tell that to people 100 times. And the reason is because you're used to picking up things that look like guns, like drills and hair dryers, and immediately put your finger on the trigger. So regardless how many times I tell you prior to getting to the table, don't put your finger on the trigger, I know you're going to put your finger on the trigger, and I have methods to try and break you out of that habit, right? All gun instructors are prepared for that. Okay, so that's something that we expect. We expect that you're not going to do the things that you are told to do, or the things that you think that you understand to do, because your muscle memory is such that you're just going to keep doing the things that you've been doing, which is basically picking up hair dryers or things that look like guns and putting your finger on the trigger. Okay. So before you even think about strapping on a gun and going out into the world with it, first learn to shoot the guns and handle the guns, and only when you're satisfied that you can handle the gun safely and hit the targets can we talk about getting to the next step. Okay. And it's probably going to take more than one training session. I mean, that's the normal thing, right? Don't think that you're the exception. Okay. Think that, expect that it's going to take more than one training session just to teach you how to shoot the gun, handle the gun. And here's the thing: accidents don't happen while you're shooting, because while you're shooting, you're pointing the gun at the target. Accidents happen when you're handling the gun. When you're loading it, unloading it, and it's especially hard for new shooters to be able to judge themselves. So you need another pair of eyes on you, right? You need somebody else that's studying you and watching you and making sure that you're doing the things that you think that you're doing. Okay. The next step after that, okay, after you learn the basic, gun handling and shooting, right? Now you gotta get yourself some three-dimensional training, right? You gotta get on a range where you can move and shoot, right? Where you can shoot in multiple directions, where you can shoot from behind cover, move to cover and reload, okay? Have change your angles. Like if I got two targets there and I want to hit the second one, but we're not the first one, moving to a different position so I make sure I don't hit the target that I don't want to hit. Okay, so you've got to get on a 3D range. Okay, the typical ranges that you have in places in New York and New Jersey, where you're just basically on the firing line and just shooting at a target that's like 5 feet in front of you. I put like 6-year-old kids on that. All right, that's not gun training. That's not self-defense training. That is, that's just shooting the target. I can put a kid on a BB gun and they can do that. Okay. So you got, if you're going to be carrying a gun for self-defense, you need 3D training. And the truth is, most police officers do not get 3D training. Most of them just train on a 2-dimensional range, and that's why if they ever do get into a real-life self-defense type of situation, it's a 50-50 for them, man. That's why you see lots of innocent bystanders getting shot. Okay, so it's a 50-50 how they're going to be able to handle the gun under stress. I mean, just off the top of my head, I remember there was an incident near the Empire State Building in New York a few years back, and the police officer shot all of the bystanders except the person that he was intending to shoot. Okay, so shooting under stress in a 3D environment is very different than shooting on a 2-dimensional range where you're just shooting in one direction without moving and everything's kind of like on the same line. So you've got to get 3D training, and even with police officers, we see that ones that don't never get that 3D training, when they get into these situations, it's a 50-50. Okay, now, one of the interesting things is the way a friend of mine put it. When you look at police officers who actually, in fact, have very minimal training in places like New York City, I mean, they're only required to go to the gun range, I think, like twice a year. They're a good example of how people with very little training can somehow still manage to use a gun for self-defense at least half of the time. Okay, so that's the way to look at that. Okay, but you want to be better than that. Okay, so next thing, after you get your 3D training, okay, where you've been to a gun range like this, I got this, and I got other places where you can move around and shoot, not just shoot in multiple directions, but also shoot high to low and stuff like that. After you get your 3D training, the next step is you're gonna now you're ready to get the gun, to buy a gun, and to start home carrying. Okay, so the gun unloaded in the holster in your house, you will carry the gun. So one of the important things there, you got to match up the right gun to the right holster. A lot of times I will see new shooters and they'll stick the gun in the cheapest freaking holster that they can find at Walmart. Okay, a gun, right, especially a modern striker fired gun, right, that has no safety, right, because the safety mechanism for this gun is the holster. That's what protects the trigger. I can hit, no matter what I do to this gun, it cannot fire because it's in the holster. That's what protects the gun. Okay, that's what keeps this from shooting. So additional safeties are not required. In fact, they're usually in the way. Problem with safeties is they're usually on when you really wanted them off, and they're off when you want them on. So you don't rely on mechanical safeties on pistols. The safety of the pistol is the holster. Okay, now the holster is also really important, and also the home carrying the gun unloaded for at least a week or two is also really important, because first of all, you got to make sure that you got to figure out what the right clothes are for you to wear, because like you're not going to be able to wear this like with a pair of sweatpants or something, right? I need to have a belt that can hold and control this holster. Okay, one of the things that you got to figure out also is how you're going to use the bathroom. Do you have like a gigantic holster? I mean, when you drop your pants, where's the gun going to go? Is it going to hit the ground? Like I have this holster that I select, right, and the gun that I select is such that I can stick this in my pocket, right, and now I can drop my pants and use the bathroom. Okay, and then when I'm done, I can take this out and put it in my pants. You never put the gun on a surface. Okay, the gun's either in the safe or on your body. Okay, it does not go on the surface because sooner or later you're gonna forget it. Okay, you may not forget it the first million times, but you might forget it 1,000,001 time. Okay, so the gun is either on your body or in the safe. There's really no in between, right? It's gotta be, and by safe I mean something that's locked. I mean it could be a locked car. I mean I try not to do that, but sometimes, let's say I gotta go into a post office or a federal building, something like that. I have to leave. I have to leave the gun in a locked car because that's the only option I have. Now, also real important, when I go to store the gun, okay, I do not unload it. I leave it in the holster loaded, because if I take the gun out of the holster in order to unload it, okay, I've now just defeated the safety mechanism. Okay, so I've actually now increased the chance that I'm going to have an accident. Okay, so the gun stays in the holster. When I go home at night, my kids are sleeping, it's kind of dark, I really can't see that well. Last thing I want to do is take the gun out of the holster, which is the safety mechanism. So I take the gun off my belt, in the holster, the way you see it. I put it in the safe. Next morning, I take the gun out of the safe, and the way you see it, I put it back on my belt. The gun stays in the holster until I'm ready to shoot it, until I get to a place where it's safe to shoot. Okay. So that's a really important thing to know, and you got to figure all these things out in your house. How you going to use the bathroom? How you going to get, what kind of clothes are you going to wear? Can you because some clothes may not work for you. Okay, so these are the things you're going to figure out while you home carry. At least for the first couple of days, do it without any ammunition in the gun. Then eventually you can try putting some ammunition in there. But don't leave the house yet. Okay, just get used to home carrying the gun. Yeah, at some point you're gonna have to load up the gun and get used to carrying it loaded with a round in the chamber, because here's the thing. One of the important things is that you got to work out is you can't be out in public like constantly fidgeting. Right? You gotta get comfortable with with like the same way I got my cell phone case here, right? If I'm waiting online to pay for something, I'm not fidgeting with my cell phone case. Well, I'm not fidgeting with my gun either. Okay, I basically kind of forget it. The gun is small enough that it just sits there, and unless I need to think about the gun, I don't think about the gun. Okay, and I know it's not going to fall out. I know it's not going to fall off my belt, because at some point before I started carrying the gun, I tested that through home carry. Okay, so you're going to home carry for quite a while before you even consider taking the gun out of your house. Okay, so and here's the thing: a lot of people are like, well, what if something happens to me and I need it? Well, here's the thing: I don't know how old you are, but you made it this far in life without carrying a gun every day. You're probably going to be okay for another month or two. Okay, so don't get ahead of yourself. And the honest truth is, I live in a very low crime area. I mean, I had a little bear that was running around here before, looking at me. I mean, even the bears are friendly around here. Okay, so I live in a very low crime area. The only reason why I carry a gun is just to assert my right. Okay, I carry to assert my right, because if you don't assert the right, eventually they're going to take it away from you. Okay, so that's the true reason why I carry, and that's the reason why I want people in New York, New Jersey, California, Hawaii, Chicago, Washington D.C. I want everybody with a gun. I want you guys carrying guns, asserting your rights. Okay, all right. So, but that said, do it step by step. You'll get there. Don't rush to it. Okay. Next, most important thing. Okay, get yourself a prepaid legal service. Okay, the one that I use is U.S. Law Shield. There's others out there. You don't have to use this one, but basically, I have a prepaid attorney here, and if you decide to go with this, I mean, it's not that expensive. I think it's like $30 or $40 up front, and then it says here they charge you like somewhere. It says $10 monthly. With some add-ons, maybe you'll put it up to $15 monthly, if you want to get your wife on or something. There's a promo code right there. There's their website, their phone number. The promo code is Pocono Shooting. That will get you some discount. It might be an extra month or two. I don't know what it is, but definitely get yourself a prepaid legal service, especially if you live in one of these 6 states that where you can where they just made it that you can get a carry permit and you can start carrying a gun. Now, normally I say there's 3 reasons. Number 1, if I actually get into a self-defense type of situation, don't say anything to the police. Call, well, other than, my life was in danger, I needed to defend myself. I don't give any details. I call up the lawyers. The lawyer talks to the cops. Okay, never talk to the police. I mean, other than I needed to defend myself. You gotta say something because But other than I needed to defend myself and I need representation, you don't say and you don't give any details beyond that. Number 2, a lot of times I am traveling, and if I'm traveling, let's say I'm going to Florida or something, I will call these guys up, U.S. Law Shield, and I'll ask for an itinerary. I'll say, okay, I'm carrying a gun, I have a Pennsylvania carry permit, I'm driving, let's say, to Florida or wherever. What states can I carry through? Which states have reciprocity with Pennsylvania? And they'll say, well, you can carry in these states, you can't do it here, you have to unload the gun. They might say avoid this state, whatever. But they're gonna give me a recommendation on how to get to what state I want to go to, and in what states I can carry, what states I can't carry. Or if the laws change, as they might going forward, these guys are going to keep up with that. So you need that. That's important, because as the laws change, you'll have somebody that you can talk to. And that's the third part. The third part is when I have gun-related questions, these are the guys I ask. For example, is it legal for me to carry this unserialized polymer 80 that I built here in Pennsylvania? The answer is yes. And even though other people had told me so, what I did is I called these guys up and I said, I asked them, because they're the actual lawyers, and I asked them to give that to me in writing. Okay, so I have something to refer back to if I ever need to in the future. Okay, so now in Pennsylvania, in New York, New Jersey, these other states in particular, All right. You got to understand these politicians have already said that they're going to throw roadblocks, in front of you, right? So you're trying to carry a gun in a state that you know is hostile to gun rights. And if you accidentally cross the wrong line, they're going to try and make an example out of you to try and dissuade other people from exercising their rights. So at all times, you need to know exactly where the lines are. Okay, that's really important. Because they're going to keep the laws in New York, New Jersey, California. These laws are going to start changing a lot. What areas? They're going to try and make certain areas restricted. You know, what guns can you carry? What guns can you not carry? This new ruling that affect the magazine capacity. I think at the moment you're still limited to 10 rounds. In the future, that might change. As that happens, and as these changes occur, okay, these are the guys, right? Not these guys, some other prepaid legal service. They're the ones that are gonna keep you up to date with the law changes. So here's the thing. I mean, what you might say, well, why can't I just watch my channel or some channel like this and get the information? Well, here's the thing. These gun channels is a good starting point. Okay, you get the information. The information that you get is going to be correct. But here's the thing: is it a current video, or is it something from like a couple of years ago? But once you hear this information, then you go and you verify it with the actual lawyer. Okay, so that's really important. You need that prepaid legal service. I think it's going to cost you about $150 a year. I mean, you're going to spend more than $150 every time you go to the gun range. Okay, so get the prepaid legal service so that you can stay up to date with the changes that they do in these states, which they're basically working directly against you. They're going to do everything that they can to try and get you in trouble. Okay, so you need somebody that you can ask exactly where the lines are. Okay, so that's it. I think I'm made a convincing enough point there. Okay, so after you've done that, are you ready to strap on the gun and start carrying around public? No, get some more 3D training. Okay, because you probably have already forgotten most of the stuff that you learned the first time up here. So basically go get more training. Okay, I mean that's going to be a continuing thing. Okay. Next thing, are you now ready to start carrying the gun? You probably, at this point, you're probably okay to start carrying the gun in public, because now you've already had a chance to research in your state what areas you can, where you can't. You've already got a sense of, of how to use the gun or how not to use the gun. All right, but you're gonna start carrying the gun, but at the same time, go get more training. Okay, now the type of training that I recommend you start looking into next is some hand-to-hand training. Okay, so learn to fight with your fists. And why do I say that? Well, here's the thing to understand, and this is really important. Okay, most people envision a gunfight that, I don't know, you come around the corner and there's a guy standing there with a knife or a gun. That's that might happen. The more likely scenario is that most fights start off with yelling, screaming, cursing. Then maybe they escalate, to threats. Maybe then from there they escalate to a weapon. So there's an escalation. All right, and you have to be able to deal with that. And let's say, you go from yelling and screaming to hands. Okay, somebody now puts their hands on you. Well, you can't just shoot that person, okay, because they put their hands on you. So how did they put their hands on you? Did they bitch slap you? Okay, you can't shoot somebody for bitch slapping you, okay, especially in a place like New Jersey. You're gonna go to jail, okay. So what if they spit in your face? You probably can't shoot them, right? You can't shoot them in my state. I'm pretty sure you can't shoot them in New York or New Jersey. So you can't spit on somebody. I'm sorry, you can't shoot somebody for spitting on you. So, but you do have to have a way to represent yourself. You can't have people slapping you and spitting on you. So you gotta be able to use your hands, or at least to be able to get yourself out of that situation. To push off and get out of that, right? So you got to be able to use your hands. And I understand that for different size people, different strength, different physical conditions, it's going to be different. And there's a significant difference in what is expected from a guy my size versus, let's say, a woman half my size as far as her ability to defend herself. So a woman half my size will probably be justified in going to her gun a lot sooner than a guy my size. Okay, so you have to learn some hand-to-hand combat, and a lot of times that hand-to-hand combat includes gun grappling. So one of the things I teach people is like the typical a very common self-defense type of situation will be like this, where somebody's hitting you over here or stabbing you up here, and you're going to the gun here. Right? Or this, where they're going for your gun over here, you're coming over the top like this, okay? So the two hands are never on the same line because you're gonna shoot your hand, okay? So this is a very typical position that you're gonna be shooting from in a real life hand-to-hand situation where you're belly to belly with somebody, but you gotta be able to grapple one hand, right? And as this hand comes up, right? So let's say they're grabbing over here, right? Guns over here, you're trying to bring it in line. Now all of a sudden this hand pulls, now this hand comes back up, okay? So that's all part of hand-to-hand training. You know, that includes the gun grappling aspect of this. And there's probably you know, if you're ever going to use a gun in the self-defense type of situation, there's probably a 30% chance at least that it will be a gun, that there will be gun grappling involved, that it will be belly to belly. Because realistically, if somebody wants to hurt you, usually they're going to come really close to you, and you don't know what their intentions are until they've already started the process right in front of you. Okay, so that's why you gotta have a hand-to-hand capability. Okay, again, you're not gonna get all this done in one day. It's gonna take some while to develop all these things. Okay, but you gotta start somewhere. This order is a good way to approach it. Okay, so now that you get some hand-to-hand grappling training, and that's a continuing thing. You're gonna have to go back more than once. I mean, this is, you know, here's the thing. A lot of people, you know, people understand, right? Let's say you're a professional, right? Whatever your job is, you understand. Most people understand that in order to keep your job and advance, you have to continually train yourself, advance yourself on your job. Okay. Well, the same applies to your ability to defend yourself. Okay, it's not like you train yourself to one level and that's it, you're set for life. You know, just like you continue to improve yourself and continue to develop your skills at your job. Okay, you know what? Between the two, right? I would rather put more effort into developing my self-defense skills than my money-making skills, right? Because the self-defense skills might save your life. If you're not alive, you're not going to be able to work and make money. So kind of look at it the same way, all right? You know, when it comes to self-defense, you start someplace, and you should expect to continue to train and improve upon yourself for the rest of your life. Okay, you know, think of carrying a gun as part of a martial art. Okay, you know, using a gun for self-defense is not target shooting at the gun range. Okay, very big difference there. Okay. If you want to do target shooting, then yeah, by all means, just do the target shooting. But if you're thinking about carrying a gun to have the ability to defend yourself, you gotta go into this with the martial arts mindset. And as you guys know, I do martial arts. I do medieval combat. I've done boxing in the past. In order for me to get good at that, I do it, and I still continue to do it on a weekly basis. I train every week. I go to a fighting practice and I practice. Okay. So, and then finally, you know, get yourself, you know, number 7, get yourself on a regular training schedule. Okay, so whether that's, you know, because in the first couple of months you're going to do a lot of training. After that, it might be like once a month. That's fine. You know, after like a year, right after you're, you know, because it'll probably take you about a year to get through all this stuff. Okay, so after a year, put yourself on a regular training schedule of, I would say, probably once a month. But once a month, you're going to a gun range where you can do some realistic self-defense training and not just target shooting. Okay, target shooting is what I put, again, like I said, 6-year-olds on. Okay, you gotta do realistic self-defense training. So you want to get on a regular schedule where it's just like automatic, just like you go to the gym, right? You go to the gym, you know, you go to the gym 3 times a week. Well, you know you're going to the gun range once a month. Okay, that's what's required for you to be able to defend yourself. So I hope this information was useful. And like I said, it's geared mostly towards the, to the states that just, got their natural rights recognized, particularly New Jersey and New York, just because they're so close to me, and I know I'm going to be seeing those people. So I kind of wanted to make a video here that when people call me up, I can actually just send them a link to this video and let them know what they're in for. Okay, so this is, because it's a lot easier if they've seen this video and already have this in mind when I see them for the first time, rather than me having to go through this every single time with everybody and repeat it. So that's part of the reason why I made this video, so I can just shoot it out every time somebody makes an inquiry about gun training for the purposes of carrying a gun. So thanks for watching. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. Make sure you guys are following me on Odyssey, which is an uncensored platform. Over there, I am Pocono Tactical. On Rumble, which is also uncensored, I'm Pocono Guns. And on YouTube, I've got 3 channels: Absolute Gun Rights, Pocono Shooting, and then the original Safa channel, which goes back to 2006. Talk to you all soon.